I've been very fortunate to be in this industry a long time and have seen the ups and downs in regards to all of the regulations. But there is something that's always been consistent to me, and that is the passion that I have for this, what I say it's medicine. And I've been in this industry. I kind of grew up in it with the family for around 30 years.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Harmonia Podcast. Today we are joined by the beautiful Monica Garcia. Hi, Monica.
Hello, how are you? I am great. I'm actually here in Bangkok, Thailand right now.
Oh, God. What's the weather like over there? Is it as tragic as it is over here? It's freezing.
Yes, actually, the weather is really nice. January is a really good time to come visit. It's cooler, it's not as humid, and it's been a little cool actually, but it's perfect. I love it. I can't complain.
I am super jealous. Yeah, before I digress, so Monica is here today to talk about the different forms of using the medication. But before we actually go into that, I'm going to hand over to Monica so that she can do a more formal introduction because she's got so much experience in the industry. It's unbelievable. So, Monica, let you show off.
Well, thank you. I've been very fortunate to be in this industry a long time and have seen the ups and downs in regards to all of the regulations. But there is something that's always been consistent to me, and that is the passion that I have for this, what I say it's medicine. And I've been in this industry. I kind of grew up in it with the family for around 30 years. And, growing up in school, I didn't really understand that it was considered a drug per se, because it was pretty natural for my relatives to utilize cannabis for all of their medical backgrounds. And, growing up with it, I always thought it was, acceptable. And living in California, there was a lot of it up north in California. And in high school, I, participated by helping my friends get access. But then I really started to really learn about the cannabis plant itself. And in the beginning, I did grow for 5 years, growing, strains like sour diesel, gorilla glue, um, just a variety of, Jack Herrera, gassy strains, and strains that were, pretty prominent in the Northern California region. And then from there, it was going into regulation of medical. And I was super interested in all of that and became part of what was called Sonoma County Growers Alliance. And every weekend, we would gather as many farmers as possible, patients, and consumers together to really fight for the regulations. That did pass in California and then moved on to 2015, where it did become medical. And that's where I really started to go into the more of the corporate background and working for large companies that were in white label manufacturing and distribution. And so we worked with, large brands like cookies, for example, Stravinsky, and we were able to actually develop a variety of different medical ways to consume cannabis, which I will go into that. And then after went into another company where I was number 8 in the company and grew that to close to 300 people during COVID time. So that was a real big learning experience for me. And with all of the skill sets that I've had, I'm also a consumer and I'm constantly trying out different genetics and different brands in different ways. And when I heard that Thailand was going to become legal, I decided to bravery just move out here and and live. I've been living out here for 2.5 years, and it's been wonderful. I've been learning a lot, and it has been amazing living in Thailand and with everybody being so passionate here. And it's been a crazy whirlwind. I have never seen it go so quickly in all my life. And I just came back from a Phuket Cup for the weekend, It's their third annual Phuket Cup, and I was part of that first one, and I was a cannabis judge. So, it's really cool to see a lot of people come together from all over the world. A lot of people did come for the weekend, and it's impressive how many are consistently, coming to those events. So you always make friends. So, yeah, that's kind of my whirlwind of life in cannabis at the moment.
No, thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing that. When we spoke, I particularly found it interesting about how you guys develop different methods of consuming the medication, and I suppose that is the main thing that we're here to talk about. Sorry, I am not feeling great at all today. Um, uh, so I will just hand over the floor to you actually, so that we can look into that because I do find like in the UK, we have basically I think three forms of consuming the medication. You have the oil, you have the flower, and then you have the carts, the vapes, and that's about it. And I know in so many other parts of the world, there's so many different ways of consuming it. And very interested to see, well, A, to learn about it, and B, I guess I'm just here hoping that some of these methods will come to the UK because it just does make consuming your medicine so much more easier, to be honest with you. But yeah, okay, I'll shut up and I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, there's, so many variety of ways to consume. And I feel that there's a lot of people who are afraid to start by smoking because of the smoke factor. But, that is, the easiest way or one of the easiest ways. And, whether that you're rolling in a joint, um, in a pipe, or you're putting that in a bong, there's different methods for that cannabis flower. What I like is that you're able to do so many different variety of things with the cannabis flower itself. Um, when you are taking extracts from it, now you have the potential to create capsules, and those capsules are really easy. But with the capsules, it does take a little bit longer because it is going into your liver, and some people handle that differently. Same thing for any type of edible, whether that's a gummy, a brownie, whatever method that they're putting that edible in. Same thing, it could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how you process that. And, everybody takes that differently, and, it depends on how much you're taking. For an edible, if you haven't taken edibles before, I always say start with the most minimal, and if you don't feel it, don't take more. I think that's what people get wrong. They'll take like 5 milligrams and, oh, I can't feel it. And after an hour, take another five. And then now they had 10. And so, that could be really a lot for somebody who's just starting out. Um, the other methods that are really great are the tinctures, right? The oils and the tinctures that you could put under your mouth. And then there's also the beverages. I also really like the beverages, and hopefully that's something that will come out in the UK. It was something that we had a lot of in California. And what I like about the beverages is that it's social as well. If you were put an edible or a capsule, it's not very social. But if you were to have a mocktail, and in that mocktail, you can have anywhere from 1 gram to 5 grams in that mocktail. And it does go down, and you can get that feeling about 15, 20 minutes by the time that, you're drinking that. You can feel it. And then if you could want to drink more or if you want to set that down. So that's the nice thing about a beverage as well. There's a lot of variety of different things that people are doing that's not a distillate. They do things like what's called a fresh frozen, and that turns into what's called a live resin.
So, I do apologize, Monica, but just because our audience is predominantly cannabis naive, can you please explain the term? So, I think you mentioned resin and I think you mentioned distillate. Will you please be able to explain that to the audience, please? Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem at all. So distillate is a concentrate that is processed by BHO. It's a BHO process. And what I like about live resin, it's a pressed process. So what that means is if you were to get the flower, the cannabis plant itself, and you were to cut that flower down when it was supposed to be harvested, then within 30 minutes, you do what's called a flash freeze. And now it's frozen. And when it's time to press that, now you're getting all of the purities of this plant. So, which is really nice because it's very pure and it's not going through any BHO. So, a live resin, they have it's what's called like wax or butter, shatter, all these different things too that you could do. And these are all just processes. And during these processes, you can smoke it. And some people have what's called a dab, and they have a dab rig. And that's just one way, another way to smoke. So it's not the flower itself. The flower has now been processed into a concentrate. Now, whether that's a BHO processed or whether that's a pressed process, like a fresh frozen live rosin. So it's a variety of different ways. Right now, actually, there's this very popular event called Full Moon Sesh, where they go all over around the world, and there's participants that go follow these full moon sesh, and they do a lot of these dabs. So it's very interesting. So it's a fine line if for legalities, but it's a definitely a clean way to smoke and not have it go through a BHO process. The other ways are also teas. It's really great to make any teas. And then topicals. Topicals are a really great way for people who have arthritis. There's a lot of topicals that I made in California that had a combination of the CBD and the THC. And that's really good to have. That combination, they call that a entourage effect. So it's good to have, the THC along with that CBD.
Well, that's amazing. Like, and it's interesting to see because some of these ways we already have in the UK, but just in a different format. So we would have the beverages and we would have the teas and topicals, but only CBD. Because CBD or hemp, but it has to be under. Is it 3% or 0.3? Wait, no. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Um, and so I always find it very interesting because, okay, let's say, for example, I remember when I went to Canada and I have arthritis. And so I find the topicals just amazing because you just put it, sometimes it's only certain locations that hurt. So you don't have to take the whole medication. You just need something for that particular area. And the topicals were amazing because I was under the assumption it was a CBD topical because I don't know, that's how it is in the UK. But then I find out it's THC as well. And I was like, the difference it makes is actually huge. When I rubbed that topical on me, I was surprised that I was like moving my hand and there was no pain and there was nothing. I was like, oh, very interesting. Whereas usually it would just help reduce the inflammation a bit and that's it. So having the combined approach is really, really good. Now in the UK, we don't have this, guys. Just to clarify, we're talking about future potential stuff that we can start introducing into the UK, hopefully. Um,
I feel that's one of the easier products to introduce because a topical won't make you high, right? So it's not going to absorb through, your bloodstream, and you're not going to get high by putting in a topical. It's just kind of just the surface of where the pain is.
Yeah, no, and it's really good. Like, cause I also tend to take, again, these are CBD because that's all that's legal, and it will be the teas as well. And I like to have the tea in the morning sometimes. And again, it's just a really good way of just getting CBD into your body. As somebody who has arthritis and it's quite bad. A lot of CBD is needed, and so I started thinking about different ways that I can get CBD into my system without having to consume all the time. But mainly for me, it's because the oils just make my stomach upset, and so I started trying to figure out other ways. And topicals and teas and stuff is just perfect.
Yes, a big fan. A big fan of all the teas, definitely. So, and those are things that you can easily do at home yourself, right? So that's what's nice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and the beverages as well. Again, here we only have CBD beverages, but they do come in handy. One of the things that I do like about the beverages is that they become very, very popular across Europe. And so when I'm traveling, at least in Europe, I tend to find it very easy that you can get it in almost any airport or any convenience store. And so every time I see them, I'm like, oh, thank God, because at least I know that the inflammation won't be as much from all the sightseeing. So those ones are actually becoming very popular. And I think we really need to start looking at how we can introduce all the other stuff, because the reality of the situation is if we were to introduce these topicals that have THC in them, only clinics would be able to sell it, or pharmacies would be able to sell them. It wouldn't be something like the beverages where they're sold I suppose anywhere. It doesn't you don't need a prescription for it. So it makes it still, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we are still left in the position where even if these things were available, if I were to travel, I would still have difficulty obtaining any of these things because you would need a prescription, you would need all of these things. Whereas with the beverages and stuff, because they follow a different law, I think they are the food something, I don't know. I'm not feeling that great today, so I'm not using this brain. But because they follow a completely different act, they are more accessible for people. So I just realized that I'm very sad about this realization.
Interesting. You know, some of the things that we produced in California, that we had like what the tea bags itself that were already, that you could prepare. And then there was also the little tube bags that you could actually just add it to your water in the morning or something, so it makes it really easy. It was just a pack that you could add to any beverage. That made that traveling really easy for people. That was easy to pack. So those are some examples. But yeah, the beverages, I think in time, as UK continues to grow and get more educated on how all of this is beneficial and medicinal, and they can always see a way to make money from it as well. It will open the doors. The doors will open to a lot of different products.
Yeah, this is exactly what we would love to see here. I mean, here in the UK, I think in America it's a little bit different in the sense that you can bring your medication around with you to countries where it's legal, but here we can't do that. Yeah, we can't. Even though it's legal in Germany, oh, sorry, if it's legal in Germany, I can bring my medication down to Germany and I would have to get, evidence and all that kind of stuff, yeah. But you would only be able to bring the medication that is legal in that country. So, for example, capsules are they a thing there? I don't think so. Not yet. Yeah, not yet. So capsules aren't a thing in Germany. So if I were on capsules, I couldn't bring that because they're not like, so someone's coming into the UK, they can only three legal methods and they would have to take it in the form that's legal in the UK as well. So if you're used to smoking in the UK, it's illegal to smoke, so you can't smoke it. You would have to use a vape and that's it. So again, there's so many
Which is so interesting. Yeah, because a vape is okay, I guess, in Germany, and vapes are not okay in Thailand. So, every country, yeah, every country has its own different regulations. And what they're doing. It's very interesting.
okay, yeah, you've piqued my interest. So how does it work in Thailand then, and why is it not okay there?
Well, Thailand is very interesting and unlike anything that's happened in the entire world. And that's because there's still a king here that has decided, 3 years ago, he said, okay, it's legal. And that just opened up the floodgates because he made it legal prior to setting anything regulated. There was nothing regulated. So now we kind of have to backtrack. There was one instance in point of time where they thought they were going to put it back into a narcotic, and everybody was very nervous about that. That's not going to happen, but this will be regulated medically for sure. They want to play with the other countries, and that's really exciting to them. They're currently right now already shipping to Australia, to Germany, to Portugal, and so and Japan for CBD, which is great. And so, the agriculture has really grown. Besides that, they've also have about 10,000 dispensaries, and these dispensaries have occupied places that were not open because of COVID. So 10,000 structures have now been newly developed. That also brought in a lot of jobs, which has been amazing. And then also people from all over the world have come here to do business, and that's a lot of these countries. Last month, I had political leaders from Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and they are all coming here to learn about Thailand, and it's great. There's so much to learn, and there's so much still work to be done, in regards to getting regulated. But we're going to be able to share with other countries around the world the products that we develop here in Thailand, and we're really excited about that.
No, it sounds exciting. And it sounds like amazing piece of work as well. Thank you for the work that you're doing. But sorry, maybe I'm not feeling that great, so I probably misunderstood or probably just didn't hear it. But why vapes? Sorry, why are vapes not allowed in Thailand? Or
They're just illegal in general. So even vapes, like nicotine vapes, are illegal.
oh, interesting. Okay, so I'm assuming it's because of teenagers, the usual.
Yeah, but they that may change once they understand that vaping THC is very different than vaping nicotine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's okay. That means it's a big piece of work you guys have to do over there, man.
There is still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, no, loads like so then what are the different forms that are used for cannabis in Thailand then?
Right now it's flower. Really, it's a flower, and then you're able to go to all of these different lounges that you can smoke in, which are really great. And there's also events that allow smoking and outside events as well that you can go to and participate in. So they do allow joint rolling, again, pipes, bongs, any way that you can smoke. Um, and then also there is a lot of the dabbing, but that's kind of a fine line right now. So we will see what they say about the distillates and the concentrates and the different methods. But there are edibles as well, lots of different variety of edibles, and everyone's really excited about building their brand, because right now when you go into a cannabis lounge, you have jars of product and flower that you're able to open up, smell, look at. And this was the beginning of that 2008 era in California. But when things start to get regulated and things change, now that can be contaminated when you're opening. So now things are now going to have to be packaged and childproof and have all of, the percentages and everything about the product, on the back. So, there are going to be those changes. So, because of those changes, more brands will start to develop.
Yeah, no, I see what you guys mean. It's really exciting. Like, and you know what I'm really surprised by is that you didn't mention oils, because oils is usually the most popular form, especially when it comes to cannabis naive people. They feel a lot more comfortable with an oil than they would with a flower. So I'm surprised that oil isn't something that's popular there.
No, yeah, not really. The tincture oils are not really popular. That's not something that people, and it's amazing how many people are open, in different generations are open to trying. So there's been a variety of different dispensaries that I've done some bud tender training, and some of these bud tenders have never tried cannabis in their lifetime because it's been super illegal. So they're very open to trying. And it's really nice to see like they've actually really like it. And, they've become very passionate about cannabis. So it's really fun to be around, all of these newbies.
See people like no, no, it's good. It's good. I mean, I've always said it. Like, it's funny because although it's not my preferred form of taking the medication. Because I prefer just the carts, the vapes, mainly because it's less work, right? I've got arthritis. I don't have time to be sitting here grinding and whatnot. But despite that, I've always been adamant flower is always the best form of the medicine because it's the most naturalist form. It's most naturalist, if that makes any sense. So even though I'm somebody that advocates for it, I don't use. I can't be bothered all that. No, even doing this right now hurts. Um,
Yeah. And I like the different flavors, that the different cultivars, the different terpenes, the way, they make you feel very different. You have the sativas and the indicas and the hybrids, but really it comes down to those genetics. And what I like is the studying of these genetics and the properties of the terpenes that it has and how they're different. Maybe somebody taking, a sour diesel, sativa, it could be really great for you, but for somebody else, it might not be great at all. Right. So, it's really learning, your body and what you like, and these different cultivars and terpenes can do things differently.
Yeah, and I always say to people, it's about what's feasible for you as well. Because like I said, yes, the flower is always the best form of the medication. I tend to find that when I'm in significant amount of pain, the only thing that will help is the flower and nothing else. Like you can vape all day, it's not going to do nothing. But at the end of the day, because I always feel like there's so many people that have so many opinions about like when it comes to what is a different form of medication to take. I just really feel like putting this message out there. Guys, take what is beneficial for you and what works for you. If you're like me and you can't sit around grinding all day, just whatever form of work, take within the legal means, by all means, guys, we still have to be, within the legal restraint of the country that you're in. But so long within the legal restraints of the country that you're in, guys, take whatever is necessary and whatever works for you because you are the one that has to live with the consequences of your actions, not anybody else. So sorry, I just wanted to put that out there. But just so that we're rounding, because I just realized the time. Just so that we're rounding. Well, I know, yeah. Uh, what would your advice actually be to cannabis naive patients, just while we're on the topic?
I say just get away from the stigma. That stigma that was, put inside your head, for years and years and years. That's the best thing because, really when it comes down to it, nobody has ever died from smoking too much cannabis. That nobody, right? From just a flower itself. And I've been smoking 30 years. My lungs are great. There's no link to lung cancer. I have a set of twins where I smoked every day through my pregnancy, and they're superstars and super healthy and never been sick. And also, my grandmother was the one always making her tea for arthritis. And then I have my brothers and my uncles and, sisters and cousins and people where, it's could be a real good family thing. And what's nice is we people got away from alcohol, which alcohol has, different effects on people. But with cannabis, I don't know. I think we've grown closer and, it's something that we could share, laugh, eat, and feel better.
Yeah, and then and so just to clarify to the audience that everybody's experience is unique. Monica's experience is her experience. Or people will scream and shout if you don't put the disclaimer.
Ah, yeah, it is unique. It's very different. I've lived a really a challenging life through this culture. I started on the streets. It was a street culture that got into more of a corporate background. And yeah, I'm from California too, so that's also different. But at the end of the day, I'm super passionate.
No, exactly, and it's a huge part of your journey in life and what really contributed to. I'm gonna go right ahead and say to your happiness. Like like look at you smiling all the time. Like this, no, this it's great. It's a great thing for the record, yeah. But like I said, I just wanted to highlight that for those patients.
That's true. Yes. And it's because of my family that I'm still out here in Thailand and, really making a pathway for the distribution of product, throughout the world. So there's no path, there's nothing to follow, and it's coming. But pretty soon, I'll be able to share, my own brand, and that's what I'm excited to do this year.
Yeah. And you have to put the work in as well. Like, for Monica, it didn't just happen overnight, I'm assuming. There was a lot of work that you put in towards your family, towards everybody for you to get that success.
And I say, for someone who's just starting out, just, start little bit by little bit, because I think the mistake is doing too much and getting that anxiety and then never wanting to try it again. So I just say, just start very small. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. This is kind of nice. And it can be very enjoyable.
And what advice would you give to the industry then in the UK?
For the UK, I feel this is a great opportunity to open the floodgates, to also be able to share this medicine with other countries who are also doing enormous studies on this, and, giving people an alternative to all of those other opioids or other prescriptions that are not beneficial for you, and letting them have a choice.
Yeah, and that is actually really spot on, to be honest with you, because I know for myself, I truly feel like they need to offer a variety of different medicines in the UK. Who for the record is responsible for that? Is it just the clinics that's responsible for that, or is it the legislation, or what is responsible for holding us back?
Yeah, they're all legislations. And to be honest, you have big corporate companies that fight and lobby against cannabis, because they're very aware that cannabis, can help a lot of patients and help a lot of people in different ways, but they're not getting a piece of that pie. So once they do, I am working, with some of those large companies like Pfizer and Procter and Gamble, who are starting to be educated and learn more, and they are starting to get a little bit of that playing field. And once they are all in, then of course everybody else will be all in.
Yeah, and again, that is an amazing piece of work that you're doing over there. Thank you so much. And I always like to leave it with something to think about. So this is a perfect place to end it on. Monica, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Super fun. I always love this.
Oh, no, thank you so much. And for anybody who is interested in any of the work that Monica is doing, because she's going to be doing a lot of amazing work moving forward, her links will be in the description section of this video. And once again, thank you for joining us to here this week, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Kapunka.